Hey guys, this is Lee. You're listening to Nursery, a podcast from Ohio's creative voice. I'm just dropping in to drop some knowledge on you. Do you remember Wheatus? If you're 30-something or maybe in your 20s, you might remember a song Teenage Dirtbag. Came out for the Loser soundtrack in 99, I believe. And that band, I liked that song, and I still like that song somewhat. But that band Wheatus, they're still around, and they're just knocking it out of the park. They do this weird, muddy recording that sounds like it's done on somebody's laptop, but in a really good way. Very much so by choice, it seems. And it's this bassy, ridiculous, orchestral, anthemic, masterpiece of a thing. They maintain that triumphant sound that they kind of were known for, and the high-pitched vocals that the lead singer does. But man, they have these like 7-minute knockout crazy anthems that are just all over the map with their lyrics, and it's I've never heard anything like it. And emotionally it really means it's not just a bunch of look at this and showing off. It's emotionally perfect. They have never really gone away from telling cute love stories this whole time, just like they did in Teenage Dirtbag, but they're doing it with wilder lyrics and bigger backdrops and more expansive ideas and cheaper recording. It's really interesting. It's such an odd combination. And I tend to get wrapped up in making music myself, so I'm not the most fashionable or up on things type of guy. So I'm not saying check these guys out because I know what's up, but I know it's good. It's good stuff. So Wheatus, of all things. Also, I wanted to mention to you, the music you're hearing in this episode actually comes from Nick Wilkinson and the Featured Players, a really cool band that I had ended up in third class playing with in Kent, Ohio at Stone Tavern. Man, they rock. Nick Wilkinson's got a great sense of humor, and he's a cool guy, and he writes good songs, great songs, with a great backing band. And I think he's working hard and playing lots of shows. So find Nick Wilkinson and the Featured Players. Aside from, the theme music by my band, that's what you're hearing throughout this podcast. So big props to them.
It's coming up roses, we're pushing up daisies. No, I'm never really sure. Through the view of these tinted glasses, bringing passion to a world where it's removed. I think that I love you, but probably not. I'm so easily confused by the words that we whisper in the shadows of the dark. What does it matter with your feet on the ground and your head up in the clouds? 'Cause you've been pulling on these heartstrings, but I keep pulling them back down to the ground where we first met and how we become so commonly misunderstood. But I'm doing this for the greater good. God bless all of the rest, 'cause I am damned to repeat this again.
Hi, this is Liz from the Village Bicycle, and you're listening to Nursery, a podcast from Ohio's creative voice.
feel lost like a speck in a pile out of sight. And though I try with all might, I just don't feel that strong. As we walk through a field trekking on snowy dirt, my eyes start to hurt trying to see a smile. And we talk about fears making our story short. You are scared to get shot, your bravery goes for miles. And there's more miles to go as we walk the train tracks. I think we lost the rain back in the woods we just hiked. And the store signs can glow as you walk sidewalk cracks. I think we lost the town back trading street lamps for kites.
Okay, hey guys, my name's Lee. Welcome to Nursery, a podcast from Ohio's Creative Voice. I'm in Kansas. What I'm doing here is I'm going to plug a few things at the top of this. Please go listen to You Breast Believe. It's a podcast, the letter U, then breast, then believe. Go find it. It's a group of people who are really funny, and they talk about whatever, just like this podcast. And who I have with me is the main, kind of the person who's kind of ringleader.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
And her name's Jessica K. So go to Twitter, Instagram, and look for Gum Under My Shoe. And then go to Facebook and search Jessica K. She's a stand-up comedian. I haven't seen her act, but I've seen like blips and fun things online. And you have a sense of humor. So listeners, I know it's a big shot in the dark because I'm a guy from Youngstown promoting a Wichita comedy podcast to whoever's listening.
Yeah.
But she's in the same boat because she's in Wichita as an artist. So I'm on my tour right now called Hymns from Some Small Tour. I'm playing acoustic shows to like basically no one at coffee shops. And I'm just trying so hard to get these little stragglers to buy my record and stuff. So she can relate to that. So I want to ask you first and foremost, I just mentioned your Instagram, your Twitter, and your Facebook page. Listeners can go to You Breast Believe and listen to episode 3 and find out that you are not a fan of Facebook. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So talk to me first and foremost about what the world is like without Facebook as like your personal page.
Well, okay, so I want to be a badass and be like, I didn't get back on, but about like a month into it, I had to get back onto Facebook to promote comedy shows.
Right.
This really big one that we just had, so now I can get back off. But we brought Brooks Wheelan into town. He was from Saturday Night Live. He was on for a season.
Okay, I probably know him to see him, huh?
Probably. He was actually fired. He's one of the few people that have ever been fired. But he's a really great stand-up act. Maybe not necessarily a good sketch artist. But it was awesome. It was so awesome being free without it and not eating like all this blank information, really. Like everything I see on Facebook is like not very original.
Yeah.
And I was just getting so sick of it, and I just really also enjoy like not already knowing things about people.
Yeah, like you get to talk to them in real life and find those same things out, hopefully.
Yeah. It's nice.
And whatever slips through the cracks that they might not tell you in person probably wasn't important enough anyways, right?
Yeah,
and that's the
of
stuff
course.
you see on Facebook.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Well, so you do stand-up. I don't know what that's like. I do comedy with something called Bullskit Productions, and that's just online. Like, that's very, like, not scripted, but, you know, we start the camera over if we mess up. Or the skit itself is a mess up in some people's eyes. So what's it like to be doing stand-up in Wichita? I talk to people on this podcast about what it's like to do music in Youngstown. What's it like doing, like, stand-up here?
Well, when I got started, there was the only club that we had in town was closed. They were moving, renovating, renaming themselves, rebranding. And when I got started, there was nothing. I found a group of like 5 or 6 dudes that were kind of just practicing in front of each other at this bar called John Barleycorns. And so I would just show up, but I was really scared to do it. So I developed a character.
Okay.
Her name was Celeste Marion Jr. III, and she was more of a Saturday Night Live character, really.
Okay.
And so I never really told people I did stand-up because I didn't feel like that was stand-up. Like,
right.
I felt like that
was more like an act or something. Or, well, people call stand-up an act, though. Yeah, it's hard to define,
Comedy's
weird.
Really broad.
Yeah.
And so, there was nothingness. And so I got to kind of fail in front of hardly anyone. And grow in front of just a few people and invite my friends. And they were, like, weirdly supportive of this crazy character who is from Brooklyn. She's probably 50 or 60 years old, but, like, in the 80s. And she is raunchy. She loves men of all race, size, color, creed. It doesn't matter. And she was really fun. And I did that for like 3 or 4 times. And then in 2014, in January, I was asked to do a show by a local comic, because we were just everyone was kind of producing their own stuff.
Yeah.
Because there was no club here. And so I was like, I'll do it, but I'll go as me. I'm going to go as me. And I just went as Jessica Wasson, which is my last name.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I have a last name.
That's right.
And so I did that and was just going to open mics where there's just 4 or 5 or 6 of us trying to keep it alive. And now that the club's back open, we have like a real stage to go on to. And it's just kind of snowballed into this huge thing now. Not
That's
huge,
cool.
but from where it was, it's big now. And I feel like a ringleader a little bit, even though there were people before me. I just have the networking skills, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty likable, and I have a lot of connections. And so it's just been really awesome producing shows and performing. Performing isn't scary to me anymore. You have to keep it fresh here because our audience can be the same people over and over again. And you don't want to share the same jokes every 6 shows. Yeah. You've got to sprinkle in some new stuff.
So you're actually doing what a lot of people take like years to do if they're like really, really big and famous. They always take that like year or more and do almost the same act, and then they retire it. That seems to be the trend ever since Jerry Seinfeld did it. Yeah. And you seem like you're working like college football versus like professional. You're like working much harder than the you're a pro too, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm pro on a very small scale.
But you're like me. You work other jobs.
Yeah.
You did the art at this building we're in front of called Songbird Juice Company in Wichita. Yeah. So you're multi-talented.
Oh, yeah.
So the podcast, I was going to ask you, because I do this podcast on top of music and comedy. Does it feel a little, obviously you do like what you want with all your creative things. I do too. That's probably why we're not that big.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
No, but not to be negative, but does the podcast feel a little bit like you can do really, really, really what you want, because it's like, who cares? Like, it's free. Somebody will press play or press stop, whatever. Like, does it feel like totally like you guys are very loose and conversational? Like, I love that. Some people are like, I want a theme. Show me this. And I'm like, keep it open. This is like the comedy act is for the semi-structure. The podcast is for like whatever you want, right? Like,
well, we just want it to be natural.
Yeah,
and
that's the point. I would listen to anything as long as the demeanor was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, like, if you were to look at, our podcast isn't just for Wichita.
Right, it's not.
It's for everyone. And there's actually 2 different podcasts. One's called Midwest Digest, and that's 6 people, 5 guys and me. And we do a lot what you do, except for we don't just focus on Wichita creatives, although it's a big majority of who we interview.
But you find people.
Yeah, we try and do comics, people into boxing, people like just whoever we think is passionate about what they do, we want to talk to them.
What's that one called again?
That one's called Midwest Digest.
Midwest Digest. So listeners, check that out. But so your Best Believe podcast must be super like an outlet then within an outlet for you.
Absolutely.
Because like that's like just like
I could talk
free
about
range.
something else.
Yeah.
And instead of being around a bunch of dudes all the time,
which is comedy, the world of comedy.
This time I get to talk to these 3 girls who so Patrick is my creative partner, and he is who helped me get Celeste rolling, and he helped me write jokes. Yeah. And Patrick is a big part of Midwest Digest and keeping that rolling. And he was like, you know what? There's no all-female podcast.
There really are not. There's a few, but like not here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And none, not really hardly any. If you were to Google the top female podcasts, it's probably just a couple of women and then also a man somewhere involved.
Yeah. It's always like two women, and they're good. They're always good. Mm-hmm. But it's always like two women who do comedy. Mm-hmm. And that's usually good, but I haven't heard it super conversational. It's always like themed on one thing usually, which is fine, whatever.
And we're trying to still figure out our flow. So like, but
I like that you're all over the place. That's good.
Yeah.
Like I think some people listen to podcasts for that reason. I think it's different. Like to each their own. But like for me, like I don't care what the subject matter, as long as the people are just being like really like candid.
We're just being ourselves, and it's still so. I am mostly an open book.
Sure.
And these other three girls aren't quite used to just really sharing their thoughts. Maybe Megan is, because she is a stand-up comic as well. She has joined the team, and I've embraced her. She started doing open mics at our local comedy club, and I was really jealous because it was like, I'm the only chick doing this.
Oh, okay. I see.
You know,
and people liked it.
But I kind of liked her.
Yeah.
And then, then we would go out afterward, and she would start coming, and I would be kind of standoffish. But eventually, I was like, well, you know, I think I have like the power in this situation, so I'm gonna approach her, tell her she did a good job, and let her know that like she's welcome here.
Yeah, that's great. Because your co-hosts sound great, and I do notice once in a while. You've only had 4 episodes, but I noticed.
And we're like 6 or 7. We're like 8 in.
Good to know.
And,
great. Thank God it's not like going away.
Yeah, we haven't released. We will probably release like 2 in 1 week and 2 more.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But what were you?
Well, I was just gonna say they all sound really great, and I love that there's a moment once in a while where like. I don't know who's who. I still don't really know who's who.
Voices are hard sometimes.
But it's like I like them, whoever they are, and like
there's Allie, Hannah, and Megan.
Allie, Hannah, Megan. I'll try to remember. And,
it's okay.
And like probably as I listen, I'll get it. But I noticed that whoever does seem standoffish for a second when you're coaxing them to whatever, talk about whatever. I love that once in a while. Then maybe a few other people chiming in. Then that whoever was the least likely really starts rolling after 20 minutes or after 10 minutes. Like that is like the magic of podcasting. Obviously, I'm pretty sloppy in my technique. I'm holding a phone, and we're out, and there's a bunch of cars in the background. But like,
this is a high traffic area.
High traffic, yeah. I love the field recording style of getting like in Youngstown. There's this one I did with this dude where there's just like a jackhammer in the background. But I heard that,
and they like knew someone on the side.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hi, how are you doing? How you doing?" I don't know why. I don't. I know it's like weird. Like speak of the devil.
I love that song.
That guy. That guy's penis must be huge.
It must be pretty.
He's compensating. Whatever.
Yeah,
no, just kidding. Yeah. No, but yeah, there's a lot.
Welcome to Riverside.
Welcome to Riverside.
Midtown.
There's a lot of people compensating for something on this block.
Yeah.
Really big pickups and loud motorcycles. Okay. No, but
it's a Saturday night.
Yeah. No. Yeah, but I like I don't know why. I love that noise. I like when people do like live podcasts and stuff like that, and I like it. So what I was getting at when I say that is like I like that you guys like start off and hit the ground running with whatever, and you're allowed to have an episode where you're all feeling we don't feel that great today, but you're going to talk about it anyways.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to have an episode where you're all kind of like amped up too. Like it's like doesn't matter.
Sometimes we'll drink a little bit.
Really? Yeah. That's great.
You know.
Yeah.
It is awesome, and I didn't realize that I was going to be like the host. I didn't like anytime. Like for example, Hannah. Sometimes you really have to pull like what Hannah say it, like say what you want to say, like this is the time, and someone feels exactly how you feel, so just like let it go.
Hold the phone and miss the call. I've been mixing up these signals, and I've been making up new faults for peace of mind. Such a cliche line. but auroras in the atmosphere are messing with my utmost fears of home. Never felt so alone. And I'll be sure to hit the highway when I learn to find the road. Break down in the middle of the country and you count the stars. I know that you never really loved me, but I never thought we'd take it this far.
And so the more that we do this, the more open they are, and it's really great. And I personally have to step back because I don't want to talk too much or share, too many of my own personal experiences and be like, overshadowing anybody.
Well,
So
somewhere in the
it's a
back of your head,
lesson.
you probably kind of knew, right? You were like,
I knew I was gonna have to. I knew when Patrick told me, like, you need to do this. You need to ask these 3 girls if they want to, because I know Hannah really well. I don't know Megan too well, and I know Allie well enough.
Yeah.
But the 3 of them, Allie and Hannah, know each other kind of okay because we went to art school together, and then but they don't know Megan, and Megan doesn't know them, and I hardly know Megan, and so it's a really great opportunity to not
good. That
make
keeps
a
it fresh.
listener feel like they're at a girls' night and
Right.
they don't know like any of they can't relate to any of our references and stuff like that. So I think that's also nice.
That is good.
And when it comes to
it's good.
topics, we'll be like, okay, maybe we can hit these 3 things. But I think as we're starting to develop, we'll just talk about one thing and then see where that goes.
Great. No, that's good because long form is good, and I think that you guys all have like enough of a sense of humor, even when there's days where people are quiet. That like I don't know. I think you have to play it like, what would you want to listen to? Like you can't really. What else can you judge it by?
Yeah.
So I think it's good, and I don't think anyone really has the ability to see outside themselves too much. So it's like you probably don't really know what your podcast sounds like totally. Like there's,
Right.
but like I hope that it's like somewhere in the genre of mine and others that I like, because I listen to almost all like loose, like free form podcasts.
Conversation, yeah.
Almost always, yeah. Even if it's someone kind of famous in them, it's usually the ones where they just, shoot the breeze.
I listened to one called Frasier Reconsidered because I love Frasier.
Talk Salad and Scrambled Eggs. Yeah, it's a good podcast.
Yeah. So Matt Myra, he's a comic and writer, and he's a part of that. And then Kevin Smith. And like for the first 20 to 30 minutes, they could be talking about Terminator and and I like, I'm not there just for Frasier. Like,
no, you want their demeanors. Yeah.
like, and I learned things. I don't really know about some of that like male shit, and so it's good to listen to it and be like, okay, this is what dudes talk about.
Yeah, they do kind of have like guy conversations sometimes, don't they? Yeah, and when they have guests on, it's fun because they don't really change their demeanor for the guests. Like they had what's her face on,
Roz, yeah,
and then Ken Levine or Levine, however you say, the writer.
I didn't see. I haven't listened to that one.
That one is ridiculously good. It's weird. That guy, maybe because he's like a writer or something, he just
Perry
had this
Gilpin.
crazy. Yeah, Perry Gilpin. He had this crazy life. And he just was nonstop on it. It was funny. It's like you'd think Perry Gilpin would be like just firing, but she's more like human.
Yeah,
like she
she's
was like
way
more
human.
like And it was actually nice to hear. It was
I
like
was surprised by the amount of theatrical experience she had.
Right. She seemed like super like knowledgeable and like somewhat like not soft spoken, but like very like into like the craft and like that more than like displaying it. And like of course Ken Levine, the writer one, he's just like on all cylinders because he doesn't usually get the opportunity to get interviewed.
Yeah.
So he was everywhere. He was like, I did this and I was a baseball announcer. He was.
And the show ended like what year? 2000.
Probably 4, yeah.
Yeah,
I recently watched the whole season.
I own all 11.
Yeah, that's cool. I just did it recently because I was always a Cheers person. If that's not that that's a different person, but like I was always more into that. And my friend was like, "You have to watch."
Are you a Seinfelder?
Yeah.
See, I never caught on to Seinfeld, and I get a lot of shit for it. There always seems to be like a battle between.
Well, I'll give you this.
those two.
I do think that it recently culturally has fallen out of favor for a time. I know that it just popped onto some streaming services and stuff, and people were eating it up. I like the show, but I do think that when watching it, it has finally just enough years have gone by that for some reason, you know how things just rotate out.
Yeah.
I feel like no question, the timing of it like now is just like to buffer the fact that it's rotated out. Half their plots are based on landline phones.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I'm not saying that's lame. It's like, it was at that time. But you have to basically just blow through the first 4 seasons, and then it starts getting really good. And so it's like, you have to, I think it's fallen way out of favor in Frasier somehow because they didn't, you've heard this in that podcast, because they were highfalutin and they had cell phones and computers then, it holds up now.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So
a
it's
lot of
funny.
stuff holds up, really. I started watching Frasier it was like a part of my like nightly go to sleep routine because they
That's
would
what
play
people say.
reruns.
Yeah.
And
it's like that. It's like comforting.
Yeah, it's very comforting. It was like when I was, I don't know, it's probably 15.
Yeah.
And I started watching, and I was like, man, I really want to know. And it would always be so like chronologically out of order. And so I was like, dang, I like really want to know like the story of these things.
Yeah.
So I would slowly buy from like overstock.com. I'd buy a season, and then like for my birthday I'd ask for another season. And so I got them but it took me like 2 or 3 years to get all 11.
You're like, by the time I got season 11, the day I got it, it was all on a torrent online.
No, that was all on Netflix.
It was all
really.
on Netflix, yeah.
Except for when it was on Netflix, you could only rent the discs.
That's right. And then what wasn't 10? Wasn't there one that was like this runaway pack that was like not included when you bought the set? I saw this thing where like 10. They were like seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11 are available, and like there was some rights issue or something. You know what I'm talking about?
I think it was really hard for me to get one of them.
Yeah, I don't know which one it was.
The
Maybe
special
9.
order.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if that mattered or if they were just marketing some. Like they were like, if you buy the whole set, you get 9, but otherwise, that kind of. But yeah, that show's great, and it's one of the few shows I can speak for a lot of people where you care what happens to the characters. I like a lot of shows, but I don't care how you met your mother. Yeah. I never cared how you met his mother. I think they're funny. Go ahead, that's whatever. But I do care what happens to Frasier and Niles and Roz. And,
dude, Frasier gets so
Daphne.
Much action too.
He does.
For being so psycho sometimes. I'm just like,
they love him. That makes me feel good about myself. I'm like, do they? So at the end of the day, even after they're really like railing on Frasier, they still like really like him. I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
that I do that weird like mirror thing to myself when I'm like, oh, okay, well then Frasier, I'm fine.
Yeah. It's like, well,
that's what sitcoms do.
Yeah.
Sitcoms do that if you care about the characters. I think.
Yeah.
You reflect. Yeah. You project a little on them,
and I don't really watch a whole lot of like television, so I just like it because it's theatrical and they rely on delivery.
Well, I'm with you on not watching too much. I end up not knowing the cool musical artists because I'm making music myself, and you probably end up not knowing the trendiest like comedy because you're making it yourself and you're busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I don't want to be influenced. Like,
oh, that's probably good too. Yeah.
I'm terribly afraid of stealing jokes.
That can be so easy, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I started, I had jokes that were just so obvious that I've laid to rest.
Yeah.
like you do, and what you were talking about earlier with comics doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's kind of like for the 2 years that I've been doing it, I found a good 15-minute set, but like I'm an idiot for not finding a good solid 5. Because then I can travel with that where I only get 5 minutes at some open mics.
I see.
So like when I went to Austin, I did, a mic there. I went to LA, I did a mic there. And that was really cool. But that was when I was like, in my mind, well, the LA one, I was insanely young as a comic. And, but like I still was very proud of what I had. And now that I see it, I'm like, girl, you've grown so much.
But it was okay though, right?
But it was good.
People reacted all right?
Yeah, it was
That's
all
great.
women's. It's pretty funny. So I took a train to LA. Took me like 36 hours because I wanted to see if I wanted to live there after I graduated college. And I had a traveling buddy, and it was a guy, and we get to this place. It's called like the Tao of Comedy, TAO, the Tao of Comedy. And it was a ladies only show, and I knew that, but I thought they meant lady performers only, but no, like only lady audience. So I had to leave my partner, my traveling buddy, and I was like, all right, go explore Santa Monica or wherever it was. So that was really interesting and unique because I literally had never had stage time with other women or solid women audience. So that was really cool. That was a really great experience. And I thought my material for being from Kansas was really good because everyone there was talking about they were talking about trying to make it in LA.
Were they?
Yeah.
Which still continues today.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about that on all podcasts.
Yeah.
And I can't relate. That's cool. It's fun to hear sometimes, but I can't relate.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I feel like I have some similarities from you, having only briefly like become acquainted with you because as a creative person, my group of friends who I do skits with and music with are also sometimes a little less social than I am or less like forward than I am. So I feel like I'm twisting their arms sometime when I get them on here. So and no offense to them, they're awesome and they keep me in check. But it's nice to interview somebody who's prepared and just like, And so, yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that being creative in the Midwest is like, something that people don't know that much about, so I'm glad to have you on as a guest because it's just like getting information out there. I hope that a few people that listen to this jump over and listen to your podcast. Just things like that. Not that they don't need to be educated on how to do this or do that. It's just like fun to listen to people. That's the whole point.
Well, and it's relatable, and I think the one thing we try that I'm excited for and some other people are excited for with You Best Believe is giving men a chance to understand women just a little bit more. Like, I know
you guys get pretty candid. It's
period
actually
talks
cool.
Aren't that cool. Like talking about our period is not fun, but it's a thing that happens, and I think it's a thing dudes forget about, honestly. And it's kind of like, well, you have morning wood, and I'll accept that. I have a period. You got to accept that. That kind of, I don't know, and calling out to listeners like, what do you do when you're a dude?
Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah.
And people will respond through Twitter and stuff. How did you find the podcast?
I have no idea. I can't remember my thread to getting to it. Like I think it was just because I found you through trying to find people when I was going on tour.
Couchsurfing.
And I think maybe you posted something and then I clicked on it. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I know that
I'm in the world now of it, but I can't remember exactly how I got there. Yeah,
it's great how everything.
Yeah, you must have posted it somewhere like on the comedy site or on the comedy Facebook, but I have no idea.
I may have had a couch surfer mention our podcast or something.
Maybe that's what happened. I have no idea.
That's awesome.
So it's weird. I mean,
the internet's like that. It's a wormhole.
I hope. I mean, I'm about to play a show to probably like 2 people right now, and I just hope that like they do the same thing I did to your podcast, where they just fall down. They take my little business card and go to the website, and they just fall down that wormhole.
Yeah.
That's the best you can hope for in life. Traveling is fun either way. But can you say, "Look, Mom, we're on a podcast"? That's our sign off.
Yeah. Look, Mom, we're on a podcast.
And then, is there anything you'd like to impart? Like anything you'd like to tell listeners about? Maybe like be all end all what to expect if they go find you, if they go find your comedy.
Expect me to.
Yeah, like if one of my Nursery listeners, though there are not many, goes and says, she's funny, I'm going to go search Jessica K on Facebook, or I'm going to follow Gum Under My Shoe on Twitter, what should they expect from you? Probably
random thoughts that are funny. No.
That's good enough.
Yeah. No, you can expect me to be enthusiastic about a lot of stuff. I'm not too much of a Debbie Downer. I am sarcastic, but playful. I'm certainly not rude, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
And if you are traveling through Wichita and you do stand-up, you can always find me. WichitaComedy.com is a website I made because we didn't have a website for local comedy events. So actually our local NPR station, which is KMUW, they interviewed me a year ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
They released it on my birthday, actually, October 29th of last year, which was a coincidence. But they did a little segment on me because I was making shit happen. And then people were like, well, how do we find out events and stuff? And so I was like, oh, crap, I'm going to go make a website. And I'm a graphic designer, so I knew a little bit about web hosting. I don't code. It's definitely something like a Wix page, but, I'm paying for it, so it looks pretty professional.
Sure.
But yeah, so go check out wichitacomedy.com, and if you're ever in the area, I'll place you. I'll find a stage for you and put up a couple of other locals. So do that. And I don't really have a whole lot of comedy on the internet. I'm a control freak when it comes to content, and I don't want it to be out there yet.
Sure.
I want people to have to see me and me prove that I'm funny.
You guys seen the dog running loose?
No, what kind of dog?
Oh, it's just kind of a mutt, medium size, reddish.
No, but I'll keep a lookout.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye.
Thanks. Aw.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
Dog.
I lost a dog.
Oh, man. Man.
That's a Debbie Downer situation
Yeah, it
right
was.
there. She's gonna find her dog, knock on wood.
You need to learn to be more like Jessica, lady. God, such a downer.
Oh God.
Why are you...
Why are you looking for your dog right now?
Wouldn't that be the worst thing ever? She pulls out. She's like, you guys seen a dog? And you're like, you're cramping my style.
Yeah,
lady.
I'm sorry, I'm interviewing right now. I need you to go.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for being a guest. And yeah, listeners, make sure you check out You Breast Believe podcast and Midwest Review.
Midwest Digest.
God. Can't remember all this stuff.
It's okay.
Midwest Digest. And then, yeah, wichitacomedy.com.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, guys, and have a good night. And I'll see you on the rest of whatever this tour ends up being. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was
Thirdclass.net for music, bullskit.com for comedy. You are listening to Nursery, a podcast from Ohio's creative voice. I'm your host, Lee Boyle. We are sponsored by the Speaking of Music show at YouTube. The Speaking of Music show delves into music of yesterday and today. Give them a listen. And we are sponsored by the Orange Avocado, raw, vegan, gluten-free desserts. If you're the type of person who used to make a song for your answering machine on a demo keyboard and you're a little lonely these days, keep listening. There's something here for you. Just hold on tights or hold on spandex. I represent the small town Midwestern attitude, and I'm here to entertain you. So thank you for listening.
Nursery and all of the trees cross over the dark, and some old parking lots hold my whimpering thoughts, and I'm on the next train. You and me, can't you see what this means? In the light of a torch, realize nothing is forced, nothing is forced.
Jerry. And sometimes Stevie and Jack.